Hi everyone, welcome back. Ashala here bringing you Soul Sampler number 63, insights for the upcoming week, September 4th to the 11th. So the messages that came in this week were almost cryptic, very metaphoric, and I'm going to jump right in and start looking at those. They were in two categories, one almost like militaristic and political, and the other one astronomical, astrological, and very personal. So I feel like we're seeing this going on in the outer global stage, a reflection of where we're at as individuals and as a consciousness collective. This is nothing new, but we're really starting to be able to identify the similarities. I want to start with the outer realm, excuse me, the global, political, and militaristic. I looked at these two cards together, this Five of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles. And when I looked at it, I got almost a feeling of a very somber, almost like a morbid tone of funerals, of really focusing on loss and sorrow and struggle from the past. And it's very interesting when I move on to talk about this full moon coming up this week in Pisces. You know, if you were curating how to kind of work dark force energy during a full moon in Pisces, having a lot of these kind of very somber, ritualistic events scheduled would be a way to kind of channel that energy into really creating a sense of sorrow, of fear and isolation, which kind of solidifies into a sort of stalemate that's only motivated or mobilized by a kind of revenge. Okay, so this is important to keep in mind. Now, I'm not saying this has to happen, but what I want to encourage you to notice is if you're seeing things in the headlines where there's this very ritualistic focus on sorrow, loss, suffering, losses from the past, this is part of what that side is trying to do with our energy. Let's turn this around and look at the flip side, because there's a real difference between sorrow and grief. Grief is the flip side of the coin of gratitude. My spiritual mentor and teacher, Martin Prechtel, speaks in great detail about this in all of his teachings. He is very masterful in working with grief and seeing the beauty that underlies grief. I'm going to put a link to a couple of his books related to this topic below. So the difference between sorrow and grief is that grief focuses on the beauty of life. It's very connected to gratitude. This is a theme this week. Turning sorrow into real grief, which focuses on beauty and gratitude and forgiveness and healing, transformation, as opposed to solidifying into fear and revenge. So this is a very important aspect to consider. We are moving into this full moon in Pisces, which, as I said before, has the energy which puts us in that almost somber, grief-stricken, sorrowful state. It's like Pisces is the 12th house of the zodiac. It is the subconscious. It's the realm of hopes and dreams, the greatest fears, the self-sabotage, or the secrets that we keep hidden deep in the subconscious. So this is a cleaning house week, both personally and collectively. And of course, we see this affecting our global power, political power matrix, military matrix, and so on. As I was sitting down to do this reading, I heard the statement, the title of that old classic book, For Whom the Bell Tolls. I had to take a moment to go look this up. And this is what I discovered on Wikipedia. So we know this book was written by Ernest Hemingway. It takes place during the Spanish Civil War. It was published in 1940, right at the end of the Civil War in Spain, which took place between 1936 and 1939. This is so significant right now, folks, because what we see happening at that very critical juncture in our collective European history is that we had um, let me look here. We had the Second Spanish Republic, which was supported by the Communist Soviet Union. And up against the Second Spanish Republic was the nationalist faction, which was supported by Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Very interesting. I will just leave that to you to consider how it may relate to what we're seeing going on in our global political and militaristic arena right now. What I'm noticing about this card is showing up in the house of Libra, which is related to balance, people getting what they deserve, the scales coming into balance. It's about relationship. It's also about legal matters. It's about documents. It's about agreements. And what I was noticing, it's across from the Five of Wands, a lot of chaos. Things are just spinning kind of out of control. And what I got was this the energy of that power dominant model is literally starting to go off its rocker. Like, I just got that there's a kind of loopiness upstairs that they can't contend with anymore. Like, they're just running out of they're just running on their little wheel around and around in circles, and it's going faster and faster and faster. And there's I just see some of these characters literally going kind of loopy. I mean, well, a lot of us are aware they're sort of loopy already, but really this week we're going to see more evidence of this loopiness. And what do we do about that? Well, we take cover. I heard, Henny Penny, the sky is falling, and then they responded with Henny Penny, the earth is rising. So we could say, oh my gosh, it's raining down from all of this, overlay that we talked about last week and the week before. Well, the earth is rising in response. And what that means is that we're sticking low to the ground and actually looking out for each other. There's a sense of holding tight, holding the ones you love, holding your friends close. And interestingly, I also heard that old cliche, and your enemies closer. This loopiness, it's like one of the things you don't want this loopiness to do is just to have free reign to go around and be super destructive. So let's hold on to that energy as it kind of comes apart. I know this is really esoteric and metaphoric. Thank you for hanging in and trying to grasp where I'm going with all of this. Let's go into the astrology of this full moon in Pisces. I believe it's happening Thursday and into Friday of this week. So before next Sunday's soul sampler, we will have had that full moon. We are also going into a Mercury retrograde. So whenever we go into a retrograde, Mercury is a lot about taking in information. It's about communication. And we're basically backing up and reviewing. So a really good time to look back in history, to take stock of what's already happened, not so much to speculate forward, but to review. And what we are looking at with this full moon in Pisces, again, as I said before, is the energy of our spiritual selves, our subconscious selves. So a lot of things coming up to the surface. I get that us common folk who really actually have our hearts and our minds in the right place, we're going to kind of, just navigate through this week pretty easily. I feel like people who are really hanging on with the ego in a power dominant sort of model are going to really be struggling this week. They're going to be kind of losing it. So if you are finding yourself struggling, just imagine how you can liberate yourself from that idea that you have to have power and dominance over something outside of yourself and really continue to work within. There's some fantastic support with friends, allies, a lot of creativity, a lot of fun. This would be a great week to be creative, to be artistic. Whatever form of art you love, do it. Do it with your friends. This is a fantastic week to create and co-create. It's also a really great week, again, as I said, to stay really grounded, really practical, really focused on the very basic things. Again, as I said, it's not for those of us that are relatively on this spiritual evolutionary path. I don't feel like we're going to be really suffering that much this week. And if anything, we may begin to see evidence of our hard work emerging. So we see this death card as an emergence card. Something is releasing, but something is coming forward. Something is being born. You'll notice this yellow sun here through the gates in the distance. And I see that reflected as this Six of Pentacles. And we know this card has to do with financial reciprocity, win-win situations, sharing, balancing the scales of justice in terms of financial wealth and abundance. So we've got the old paradigm and we've got this emerging new paradigm. For those of us that are already on this path and focusing more on what we can give as opposed to what we can take, this is going to feel kind of natural and effortless this week. It's going to be like, oh yeah, there's starting to be signs that the universe is supporting us in this kind of a focus. Before I sign off, I want to mention I'm still offering my 21% off sale for another, I guess it is just about 2 weeks. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, please click the link below and there's the coupon code for you to receive the discount. And finally, a shout out to my fellow Western Canadians, particularly people who live in British Columbia, Canada. My daughter and I are relocating to the Okanagan in the next month or two, and we would really like to connect with our type of people, our community of awake, people that are into thinking for themselves, and we would love to hear from anyone in that area that has connections in our community. So if you live there or know people that are awake and critical thinkers like us, I'd love to hear from you. Make a comment below and we can direct message and be in touch about helping us find some of our folks in that Okanagan, Central British Columbia region. Been awesome to share with you all. Have a beautiful week.